Hey, welcome! Today we're going to dive into something every single English learner deals with. You know, those tiny, super common mistakes that can make your English, which is probably great, sound just a little bit off. We've all been there, and today we're going to get it sorted. You know that feeling, right? Where you say a sentence and you run through the grammar in your head and everything seems to check out, but the person you're talking to still has this kind of confused look on their face? It's so frustrating, but it's all about moving from just being correct to sounding natural. But hey, don't worry, because that is exactly what we're going to do. We are going to crack that code. We're going to help you sidestep those little beginner tripwires so you can sound way more confident and, fluent. So first up, let's talk about grammar's hidden traps. These are the sneaky mistakes that usually pop up when we're translating directly from our native language into English. The good news, once you see them, they're actually really easy to fix. Okay, here's a classic. I have 20 years. Someone asks you how old you are, and you say this. Now, in a lot of other languages, this makes perfect sense. But in English, it's an instant giveaway that you're thinking in another language first.
The fix is all about one little word, the verb. So instead of I have, we say I am. The correct way is, I am 20 years old. Or, to sound even more natural, you just say, I'm 20.
And here's the rule to remember, the big takeaway. In English, your age is something you are, not something you have. Think of it like a state of being, not something you own. If you can get that little switch in your head, you'll sound so much more natural every time. All right, let's check out another one that's super common. This one is all about words that like to hang out together. This phrase feels so close to being right, but to a native speaker, it just doesn't quite land. And again, the fix is just a simple verb swap. We don't do a mistake in English, we make a mistake. It is such a small change, but trust me, it makes a huge difference in how fluent you sound. So this introduces a really important idea in English called collocations. That's just a fancy word for words that sound natural together. You know, we make a decision, we make dinner, and we always make a mistake. Learning these little pairs is a massive shortcut to sounding fluent. Okay, moving on, our next section is words that change everything. Because honestly, sometimes picking just one wrong word can totally flip the meaning of what you're trying to say, and sometimes in some pretty funny ways. All right, let's take the word boring. This one describes the source of the feeling, the thing that is causing the boredom. So if a movie is making you feel bored, then the movie is boring. Simple enough, right? But, and this is a big but, if you want to talk about how you feel, you use bored. I am bored. If you say, I am boring, you're actually telling people that you are a person who makes other people feel bored. That's a mix-up you definitely want to avoid. Now, this one's fun. Using the word very isn't wrong at all, but if you use it all the time, your English can sound a little flat. This is all about leveling up your vocabulary. So instead of very tired, why not try exhausted? Instead of very happy, you could say thrilled. Or instead of very big, say huge. See, it just gives your English so much more punch and makes you sound more advanced. Okay, for our next section, we're going beyond just being correct. Because you know what? Sometimes perfect grammar just isn't enough. We need to talk about being polite and understanding social situations. So picture this. You're in a cafe. You walk up to the counter and say, "Give me a coffee." Now, grammatically, is there anything wrong with that? Nope. But in a real conversation, it can sound like a rude command. And just look at the difference a tiny change makes. Using phrases like "can I get" or "could I have" immediately makes it softer, more polite, and way more natural. Remember, it's about asking for something, not demanding it. Ooh, here's another tricky one. Someone explains something to you, and your response is, "I know." Now, depending on your tone of voice, that can come across as really impatient, almost like you're telling them to stop talking. Using something like "I see" or "got it" sounds so much more cooperative and respectful. And all of this brings us to our final, and honestly, our most important section, the golden rule of fluency. This really gets to the root cause of why most of these mistakes happen in the first place. So, we've looked at grammar traps, confusing words, and how to be more polite. But the real reason behind almost all of these little errors, it's probably not what you think. It's not about a lack of vocabulary or bad grammar. It's actually a habit that most of us fall into without even realizing it. So, after going through all these little fixes, what do you think it is? What is the single biggest mistake that holds English learners back from sounding truly natural? This is it right here, translating word for word. When you build the sentence in your own language first and then try to swap out the words for English ones, you get things like, I have 20 years. But languages just don't work like that. They have totally different structures, different idioms, and of course, those super important collocations. So what's the real solution? It's all about shifting how you think. First, try to catch yourself when you're translating and just stop. Instead, start learning full phrases and word partners, not just single words from a list. And then, the ultimate goal, try to actually think in English, even if it's just for 5 minutes a day. I promise this is the fastest way to break that translation habit and really unlock your natural fluency. So the real question is, are you ready to stop translating and start thinking?